Good day, my name is Bluesuit and today we'll be talking about my review of the early access turn-based zombie survival base building RPG roguelite known as Dead Age 2. Dead Age 2 takes place some years after its predecessor. Zomdex, the cure for the infection, is now in short supply, and there's been a massive mysterious resurgence in zombie outbreak cases. After the character creator, you're taken into the game's very long-winded tutorial. It outlines the night before your arrival and sets up the events that eventually become Dead Age 2's main story. The tutorial itself is a slog. There's so much information between learning the story and the mechanics that it's going to take you a solid hour of reading text and hand-holding before you're allowed to make your own decisions. The issue is that it's really long and still leaves some mechanics unexplained or explained poorly. It wasn't fun, but it did make sense because there's so much happening in this game, from leveling up your skills, building and defending your base, making your way around the map, and then there's the actual combat itself. Allies on one side, zombies on the other, combat takes place in turns and is going to feel very familiar to fans of games like Darkest Dungeon. Everything is RNG based, from your chance to hit, crit, block, and apply status effects. The only issue here is that this information is at the top of your screen, the bottom of your screen, it's under and around all the characters. It comes off as a bit cluttered, and I would have liked to see a bit more consolidated and organized information. The menus themselves are also not super user-friendly. The big blocky buttons that open up sub-menu after sub-menu gives it a very unwelcome mobile game feel. In combat, you want your ranged characters in the back and your tanky melee characters in the front depending on their skills and abilities. Even though Dead Age 2 is still brand new to early access, there are already a ton of skills in the game. Every character earns skill points on level up that they can spend on their skills. There are the classic zombie game weapons like guns, melee weapons, and grenades, but you can also put points into a character's jobs, such as hunting or gardening. There are even a few unique skills like summoning turrets or animals to come help you fight. The job system is great, and it adds another level of depth to the overall game, because even while you're out in the woods fighting off zombies, dealing with random events, and collecting food and water, you still need to be thinking about your home base and how your recruits can best serve the common good. Your base is this big old house that your survival group has moved into, and each of its rooms can be converted into crafting and gathering spots. It takes a lot of work, but eventually your hunters and gardeners will become near self-sufficient, and you'll be able to craft things like weapons, armors, ammunition, and medical supplies. The base building aspect of Dead Age 2 is really well done, and it's always tense to see a zombie horde on the horizon coming to tear down everything that you've built. The story in Dead Age 2 isn't scheduled to be completed until mid-November 2020, and while the actual content of the story is pretty great so far, the delivery really isn't. Text box after text box after text box gets old rather quickly, and since this game is very much a roguelite, you're going to be reading the same text boxes over and over again, with the exception of a handful of dialogue choices you can make to alter the outcome of the game. And this really brings me to the biggest problem with Dead Age 2. It is stubbornly a roguelite, when it really doesn't need to be. Generally, when you die in a roguelite, you lose 30 minutes, maybe 2 hours tops, but this is a story-driven RPG at its core. When you lose, it hurts. Being 7 or 6 hours in and starting all over with a slightly stronger character will cause most players to just put this game down and maybe pick it back up again in 6 months, if ever. Right now I'm in my second playthrough. Every character that I've recruited has been equipped and their skill points carefully assigned. My base is finally starting to produce good gear and my garden is blooming. It took a whole lot of work to get here, and I can't help but feel like permadeath is just a cheap way to extend the playability of the game and doesn't really bring anything meaningful to Dead Age 2. As an early access title, there are a couple things that detract from the value of Dead Age 2, and the first of those is the balance. A lot of skills and builds in the game are just downright better than others. It's not much of a concern as the balance will constantly change as the game develops, but it doesn't feel great when you spend points to unlock a skill and find out that it's actually a pretty useless skill. Secondly, as I mentioned before, the story won't be complete until late in 2020, so if you do make it to the endgame, just know that it doesn't really exist yet. And the last thing is bugs, and this is more of a positive note here. When the game launched, it was unplayable for many people. Game-breaking bugs and crashes were huge issues, but since the day one patch, I haven't experienced a single bug or crash in my time with the game. Right now you can pick up Dead Age 2 in early access on Steam for $18. As with almost any early access title, it's not going to be worth full price right now. The game has its issues, but it also has a very addicting combat system in place with solid base building and a huge map for players to explore, so I'm valuing Dead Age 2 at $14. There are some truly fun aspects to this game, and I hope that the developers at Silent Dreams are able to make the most of them as the game develops. I hope you enjoyed this review of Dead Age 2. Come see me on Twitch where you can watch our reviews in progress 5 nights a week. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you thought about it. Until next time, peace!